Transition, the process of change from one condition to another.
We are now at a new crossroad where change is evident once again.
What does not serve us must transform us anew.
Returning to our original state of oneness and true nature of that which created who we truly are.
Confusion was the way of the past. Enlightenment is the way of the now and future, shedding away the layers of deceit.
We now bring you the transformation of the two who started as one. Our fearless planet never stands still.
Earth has been in a process of transition, and we are not exempt from this remarkable ongoing reality.
Well, hello, and welcome to Transition Radio Show's Real Talk with the Cummings. My name's Mark Angelo.
And I'm Lena Ariel. Thank you for joining us tonight as we go into the deep woods with all kinds of topics.
It's amazing the kind of world that we're living in, and how there's actually two different timelines, two frame of thinking, two different types of tribes. And, we all believe what we believe, and I guess that all depends on where you are tapped into this timeline reality.
Yeah, it seems like, one group thinks the truth is here and the other group thinks the truth is over here, and they'll fight tooth and nail to believe whatever it is that they believe.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
It's just remarkable, in my opinion, how in the past 5 years there has been such an amazing alteration of reality. And it's no surprise, because I truly believe that there has been many lies, and that's what the theme of the show is today. Lies are all around us. The lies that we've been told that have brainwashed us, that have us believing a certain way, when in reality, it's just all smoke and mirrors.
So many things are scripted. I mean, you just look at everything and you just see how things are staged. I mean, we're excited about what's happening politically recently, and just one little brief thing that shows is an example of what staging I'm talking about is that, Kamala Harris just became, the nominee, or unofficially anyway, but she got a call from the Obamas, and it was like, hello, and it was like, and they had it perfectly mic'd, and they had it perfectly scripted, and, like, everything is like perfectly aligned.
We said last week in the show, the world's a stage.
Just like someone's ear.
Yeah.
It was perfectly, like the story was told about this ear that magically didn't really.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just bizarre stuff. And people get upset. Like, how can you say things like that? Somebody really died. Yeah, because people are part of the pawns. They're going to be deaths. They're going to be problems, but they don't care, because it's all part of the grand production. You have to understand how things work. It's not, reality is not at all what you think it is. We're kind of living in the twilight zone. Or what's that movie Jim Carrey?
Oh yeah, the Truman Show.
It's a Truman Show, and everything is, as it should be, I guess, because there's no wrong, there's no right. It's just production that's taking place.
We're still kind of wondering about the whole concept of flat Earth, because whenever we see a rainbow, it's always like this
dome shape.
This dome,
yeah.
It's like the reflection is going up and around.
It's not square. It's like a dome.
Angular.
Yeah. So, there's just so many unanswers.
We just don't know.
And to be arrogant to say we know it all, as certain groups and religious groups believe they know the fact that this is the way it is, their God, their Savior is what they say it is ludicrous.
Wasn't someone just pummeling you on Facebook about, you need Jesus. You don't understand. It's like someone's telling you the truth from the only truth that they know, and they they think that that's the way that you can defend yourself.
And you can't really get angry at these individuals because in their limited way of thinking and in their little box that they live in, they believe it with all their heart and soul. As we've gone.
We can say that because we lived in that box too.
Yeah, exactly.
We literally 4 months ago got unfriended by a long time gay friend of ours who, like, you know, he's always stuck up for us and stuff. And like, we were in the heat of our Christian, you know, trance thing going on. And I made a comment about, you know, some drag queen Lord Supper picture
that he put up
on his wall. And now I would think differently about that. I wouldn't even say anything. I would look at it so differently. And it's only, you told me,
yes, 4 months.
That was like
last year.
Ago.
That was only 4 months ago. You know, but you know, it's part of growth. It's part of evolution. For someone to say they never change their mind or they're constantly thinking the same, then there's no growth, because we weave and flow through life and learn certain things and believe certain things and throw away certain beliefs. And the more you go down that rabbit hole, the more you end up understanding what this is all about. And I don't claim to understand it all. There's still a lot that I don't know. And, you know, I'm learning every day, and I'm wanting to learn every day because it's important. And this life is like a game.
It is.
It's a total game. And it's like people get angry. So how can it be a game? People die, but is death really that bad? You know, it's like we label things good and bad. And it's like things are the way they are. Tragedies are the way they are, and they're there for a reason. They're there to teach us certain things. Or it's like when you dream, you know, you kind of try to put the dream together because it's giving you some sort of message. We are the ones creating all of this in another realm of someplace.
Native traditions would say that this is the death right now, that we're sleeping, that we're in a death cycle as being here physically on this planet, and that real life happens in the afterlife.
Exactly. And what about the Olympics? I mean, we have to talk a little bit about.
Oh my gosh, it was like,
not so much boring. Yeah, it was not like the regular as the other Olympics were, but you know, let me go ahead and share this. The Christians, as usual, have created this whole scenario, you know, as they did. What was it? The Grammys, where Sam and that
and Kim Patrick
created that production, and right away they were all about the devil, this, that, and the other, and it's like, it's art, people. We are spirits having a human experience, and part of our human experience is artistic. It's really,
France is very artistic. I mean, they're known for their paintings, they're known for their arts, they're known for their fashion.
Totally. Why is this not sharing? Here we go. Okay, so I don't know if it's our internet connection or whatever it is, but it's kind of like whenever I try to do, and I have all my apps closed, so I don't know. But
are all those apps that are closed?
Yeah, I think what I'm going to do is get rid of that on my phone, so it's one less. Maybe you should do the same with yours. It's crazy. Put up the flag upside down. Now, I believe that was done purposely. You know, I believe that there was a reason behind that. Trust me, nothing that happens on this planet is by coincidence. There's always something leading to something. It's the way it is. And, you know, instead of people pointing out, you know, about the flag, which some say not only is it embarrassing, but it's disrespectful, they had to point about the production with the drag queens, right? That they were doing some. We haven't watched that part yet.
Well, we've seen it. We've seen.
Oh, I was asleep. I didn't see it.
Oh, you didn't see it?
No, I didn't get this. I fell asleep. It's like, I'm getting old. But yeah, they're making such a big deal about it. and it's like, it's art. And the whole Da Vinci thing is not really as it is. I mean, there's an article that I read earlier that it's Da Vinci did that painting 1,500 years later after the death of Christ.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, I think there is like some cultural symbolism that's lost on the American people because they don't really look into the culture where this comes from. I mean, they had literally a guy in blue. He's supposed to represent Dionysus or something.
Yes, I saw something.
And he was like there, and the actual one of the drag queens was actually like the DJ. So it was like a record player that was there, and everything had like a symbolic reference to it. And it's France, and they do whatever they do. It is called Gay Paris, right? Yeah. And they have words like laissez-faire, and menage they do what they want. Yeah, they came up with menage a trois. Yeah. So I mean, they're sexually more free than we are here in the United States, and as far as like being expressive or just how they
live their humanness,
their humanity.
Yeah, unlike those that follow the religiosity, whether it's Christianity, all the Abrahamic religion, they've got something up there, where, and it's like, we are meant to live life. We're meant to experience things. We're not some crude, prude species. This particular dinosaur, this particular reptile called Yahweh, and I'm sorry if those of you get upset about that, but that's how I view that deity. And
it does say that he blows steam and fire from his nostrils.
Yeah, there's a lot in the Bible that demonstrates that the God you guys are following is a dragon. It's monstrous dragon that has a very bad temper. It's always angry, always wanting sacrifice, loves the smell of burnt flesh. So put two and two together. I don't know. I think it's like some sort of like veil that people have in their eyes.
Well, it's the same veil that people have about Trump.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Not, like we listen to one, news report or opinion piece, and they're talking about how, everything was a great speech that he gave at the convention, and how he kind of laid it out there for the American people. And it's like, wait a minute, are these two different speeches that we heard? Because
again, we have different
we
filters.
Heard one thing,
yeah,
and it was like incoherent babbling for most of it. It's like
he's definitely. I mean, I don't know what people are thinking. We had a president with some sort of dementia, and do they want another one? I mean, he's up there in years, and there's something that stress does to the brain, and it does kind of speed along the dementia in people, especially with that kind of responsibility. Being a president, I wouldn't want the job.
I mean, the telltale sign was when Melania was forced to be there, literally, and she's just like watching Kid Rock perform, and she's like rolling her eyes, thinking, "How did I get here? What did I do?" And it's like, she doesn't approve of her husband. So
no, she doesn't. And why should she? I mean, the man, according to what a lot of people have reported, has a problem with his digestion and his stomach, and he's always farting, and he smells gassy, and he smells. And there's been reports about people that just say he's just unbearable. And it's because of the food he eats. He doesn't care about his body. He doesn't care about anything. But anyway, people need to really understand that not everyone's going to believe in your God. Before Christianity, way before, there were many different types of gods and many different types of belief systems. A lot of pagan, a lot of different, things from the Olympus and all these different gods, mythology that people call myth, but they weren't myth. You really have to dig deep and read books that are way older than the Bible. The Bible's very young.
And, with regards to the Olympics, I mean, this is a country showing off their culture, showing off their traditions, showing off their history. So people can manipulate things to like reconstrue them as like some kind of like attack on their faith or something. But it's like the woman with her head in her head in her arms and stuff. That's Marie Antoinette. For those of you who don't follow anything having to do with the French Revolution or history, it wasn't a demonic lady. It was just, it was like a depiction of their history. They were telling a story. I mean, this is what they do in these different ceremonial opening ceremonies. And, they have meaning to the different things that they do. And it's not to say that, that there's messaging not being given, but, there is, and we know that.
But it's not a negative. These messages are being given to us. It's like an awakening signal. Little things. I mean, people think that these secret societies are all bad. And have we maybe thought that the bad guys are not the secret society, but maybe the religious zealots, all the Abrahamic religion, all this one-track minded that are trying to keep us dead asleep and enslaved?
I mean, we're listening to like the song, what is it? The John Lennon song. Imagine. The lyrics are beautiful. I mean, they imagine a world where there's no fighting, there's no division, there's no borders. There's nothing that will pit one person against the other. There's no racial wars. There's no religious wars. It's like this beautiful harmony of humanity. And that is demonized by the Christian, majority of Christian people here in the United States as being a demonic song or something that speaks about secularism.
Because everything to them, there's a devil under every rock. Everything is demonic. Everything is bad. And they don't realize the only demon there actually is, that reptile that they follow, Yahweh, is the problem. He's the one that has murdered people, has had people kill thousands and thousands, of massive genocide.
And I don't know if people understand it or not, but the Jewish tradition where the Christian faith comes from is from the old books of the Torah and the stories. Those traditions did not have even the mention of a devil. I mean, there wasn't even that wasn't even something that they spoke of. It's been so misconstrued. It's like they took something and made something else out of it, because a daimon is actually, the demon word in English is actually a messenger, and that could be a messenger of good or a messenger of evil.
Exactly. Yeah, they take everything and they twist it and they make it like they take the indigenous and they push their religious beliefs on the indigenous. They go to Africa and they do the same thing. They take away the natural belief system of the indigenous of the world and push their Yahweh, their Catholic, their Christian beliefs on everyone. And
yeah, I mean, they demonize the things. Like, we went to go visit the sacred piece of land over there in Wyoming called Matu something. It has like a native name, but you would be more familiar with it as being called Devil's Tower. It's like everything's like devil. If it's native, it's got the devil.
Yeah, it's bad according to them, and they've got to like take out the devil out of people and this wicked heart. And it's like, just like Trump talks bad about Americans, and it's like it's part of the archons. It's part of that reptile race that want to diminish us, make us feel like we're this small, so that they could force their belief, their savior, upon us. And that's all bogus, because we don't need a savior. There's nothing wrong with us. We are living an experience on this dimension, one of the many dimensions that are out there. So
I mean, you were talking about the whole concept of the Olympic Games and how it's like a little microcosm of like potentially what we have is a situation where all these different races from all the different galaxies and places around, the universe decided to do an experiment here on this planet and put us all together.
Yeah.
So we could figure this out, in a limited way so that we wouldn't destroy each other because we wouldn't have the powers to, to destroy the other completely initially, but that we would actually have to somehow work together, coexist together.
So this is a massive project that has been placed here for us to learn how to get along. We can't even get along with people that are trying to come here. I mean, this whole immigration thing sickens me. Your parents, your great-grandparents came from elsewhere. And don't give me this BS that, they did it the legal way, because there was no legal way. Right now, we can make it legal with a stroke of a pen for people to come to this country. There's so much land. There's so much resources that if we really decided to work together as a species, we could. But instead, the rich want to get richer, make the poor poorer, and they want to control all the borders. And then they pit us against one another. The white people look at other colored people and they look at them as enemies. We don't want them here. Let them go back to their country. I didn't like when I was called a spick and told to go back to my Cuba when I was a little kid. And things don't change. People are doing it to everyone. It's wrong. This does not belong to you. You stole this land from the natives. Simple.
I mean, when you see the irony of a older ranch owner in like the borderlands in Arizona who was literally given the opportunity to speak at the convention of the Republicans, he's talking about how their land's being invaded and all this stuff. And it's like, do you not realize that maybe the people that are coming across your border actually their grandparents and great grandparents actually probably farmed there? It's like, it's just crazy.
Yeah. Hello, CC, and hello. No, because I didn't have it on the screen. I had it on the other note paper. And Mariah joined us. Hey, Mariah.
Hey, Mariah.
CC. Thank you for joining us. Yes, Earth is definitely a library, and we're actually here to collect Ingram's electrical frequency experiences to share amongst the entire universe. There are many, many species out there, and we are learning and growing and evolving and changing. But somehow, some way, we got a virus, a reptile virus, that has stagnated our growth. And they want to keep us enslaved. They want to keep us dumbed down. And it's time to remove the veil. It's time to realize that this whole Christian, this whole Abrahamic, let's not just blame the Christian. There's so many Abrahamic religions out there that have that same mentality. And it needs to stop, because we're never going to evolve and grow and change if we continue to follow the old ways.
But what a better way to dupe people than to like put it in the veneer of a savior, put it under the veneer of like somebody coming to rescue you and to like bring you salvation and stuff. And salvation from what, really? Yeah. Because I mean, you're being saved for what?
As we showed you last week, the whole story of Adam and Eve, it's not just a couple. It's a protocol. And there were many, many, many of these individuals. It's, again, an experiment. So no one ate from an apple that then they fell and committed sin. That's all BS. That's like story time for little kids.
It's symbology that represents something much, much different than what you would think of just as being some piece of fruit, like literally a tree, a piece of fruit, two people naked.
It's so
I mean, it's like, it's just, and then you know what got me was like we were listening to like someone reading about the book of Genesis, because they were talking about they were going to unmask Satan in this episode on this YouTube channel. And basically, you know, these people are like, you know, talking about how Yahweh came into the garden and he said, wait a minute, where are you? And they're like, we hid because we were ashamed. And he's like, who told you you were ashamed? It's like, why wouldn't someone have the dignity to give someone the respect to know when they're naked? You know what I mean? It's like somebody had to like, oh, your eyes have been opened. Now you know that you're naked. Before you were so dumb, you didn't even realize that you were naked.
Yeah, and again, that's just such.
But it's that symbology of like, there was a messenger that came into that situation and said, hey, psst, this is not what it's like. The truth is, you're much more than that. You know?
Exactly. But, you know, there's no respect. The so-called savior has to die a gruesome death. This is all about blood of Yahweh, this warring God, to save us. Like, really, put two and two together. You have to kill somebody. They have to bleed to death, literally, to be saved. That makes absolutely no sense.
When we were reading in 1 Samuel, talking about, like, in the story of the dedication of the temple, you know, Solomon's temple, they literally sacrificed 60,000 calves and, you know, 40,000 goats. And I mean, it was a bloodbath, literally. It was a bloodbath. And when you think about the destructive things they were doing in the wilderness, where they literally were sacrificing animals 24 hours a day, 6 days, 6 days, I guess, a week.
Yeah.
But it was a bloodbath.
Yeah, it wasn't also when they were carrying the that what's that called? The thing, you know, the God,
the Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah, where God was in there and the ark and he's being taken, and they had to sacrifice everything. They took a few steps.
Yeah, they took a few steps and they had to
sacrifice,
and then a few more steps. They had to
sacrifice another animal. I mean,
it's like,
what kind of beast is that?
Excessive.
Read the Bible. Really read the Bible, and you'll find out that it's like a nightmare. It's horrific. No one would want to follow that God if they really read the Bible and understood what they're worshiping. And Mariah says, so how do y'all feel about Revelation?
You know, Revelation has a lot of symbology in it.
Yeah.
And there's lots of information there that's probably not well understood. And we don't, you know,
fear mongering.
You know, it's like this, you know, it's crazy because I mean they predict certain things, but then the book of Revelation was written after the conquest of Jerusalem, after the destruction of Jerusalem.
Yeah.
So they're talking about the second coming, and you know,
the timeline
just
doesn't make any sense. The timeline just doesn't make sense. The things are written after the fact. I mean, there's just the Bible. There's some coding and some messaging in there to untrap you. But if you read it and just take it as blind faith, you're.
Do you all believe Jesus was real and died on a cross? Thanks for talking this stuff through.
I personally don't. I don't think that, first of all, the records show that the Romans, the way they did things, they didn't hang people on the cross. They stuck them on some sort of stake and impaled people, and they put them upside down, and they did. And it wouldn't have been this just like one production the way that
no, it wasn't like this dramatic 3 crosses stood on Calvary's Hill. It was crucifixion day. The Romans treated their prisoners like garbage.
Yeah.
They hung them up on the roadside and let them die for days. And they would literally light up their roads with people, you know, and it's like that was one thing I was told when I went to Israel. When I was in Jerusalem, they literally said, the story of the crucifixion, it's not as people would imagine, because they wouldn't have respect for three people. They wouldn't treat these guys as something special. They would have just like denigrated them to the point of like, these are not even human, subhuman trash. So
Plus, historically, there is no historical evidence. I mean, that is just stuff that is like made up. Like you said, you went to Jerusalem, and it's just like there wasn't anything.
I've been to Golgotha. I was literally at this Muslim cemetery that this Christian, like, he's like a Bible study author who he got caught for doing some indecent things, but at the time he was able to get us up there by like basically paying some Muslim guy money so that we could go up there and shoot
Tourist attractions.
So they don't know. The Catholics say that it's at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre that Jesus was crucified inside what is now Jerusalem, the old city. And then the Christians have their version, which is like the tourist trap where they sell you, like olive tree Christmas, like nativity sets. And I mean,
it's like, look, Jesus wasn't even born December 25th. Okay. It couldn't have. And there's proof of all that. The lies, the Santa Claus, it's everything that we've been told is 25th
is a celebration of Saturnalia.
I know.
It's like a pagan holiday. It's not even has anything to do with Christianity. This is nothing but like this reconstruing and reconstruction of the pagan, holiday, and they had to Christianize it because they were making Christianity into the religion
that it has become
of the Roman Empire and of the West, basically.
Yeah, so a lot of lies, just like the fearless leader, a lot of people are following, then a lot of them are Christian that follow Trump. It's just, look, the guy that he put as his vice president is talking about cat ladies, okay, and that childless people have no voice,
stake in the
way anything.
The country's run.
Yeah, and it's like, excuse me? So their God wants people to be baby factories because he wants more and more worshiping fools, and more sacrifices. Like, they're worried about abortion when, do you know how many babies have been killed in the name of God? Do you know how many people have been killed throughout history because of God? So this whole mighty, holier than thou attitude, and it's hypocritical, completely hypocritical.
I think there's a parallel to like what happened during World War II when the generals in the United States decided to invade Normandy beaches and stuff, and they knew that the men would be killed. They knew that there was going to be thousands and thousands and thousands of men killed before they even made it inroads into France, right? But they did it anyway because they had an agenda. They wanted to get onto the beach, But it's like these guys, they didn't know that they were just gonna go out there and so many people have seen like Private Ryan, Saving Private Ryan, and how these young guys were just slaughtered, just murdered and destroyed by their own government, because they had an agenda that they wanted to.
As they continue to have agendas, and that's what wars are. It's like the sacrifices for these reptiles, archons, and it goes so deep that it sounds crazy. But all I could say is that this whole biblical religiosity is all crazy stuff. So Cece, go ahead and read what it says.
Heard once Jesus was Genghis Khan's father, and the Khan stole his legacy and made rules.
There's so many different like type of scenarios that throughout history appear to be like Jesus, born of a virgin, and all these. I mean, watch the movie Zeitgeist, and I think there's like 10 different type of mythology that pretty much.
Yeah.
You know,
There was no J. Yeah, there was no J in the Hebrew alphabet.
yes.
You know, people think that the books Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John were written by Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, but it's like Matthew, Mark was a Roman.
Mhm.
Luke wasn't a disciple. He was a Greek doctor.
Mhm.
And, you know, I mean,
It's just me.
John, I mean, it's like these books were written like 90, 70, 90 years after Jesus, you know, something.
Yeah.
But it's like there's so much that people take for, like, you know, for the truth, like the words of Jesus. How is that? Oh, is it because there was like the Chosen shows like Matthew walking around with a little pad and
How
some
much can he write it
pen or something? I mean, did they have a big writer at the
I
time?
know.
I mean,
I thought they were still writing with.
I mean, did they have?
I don't even think that the feather yet.
Did he not dip his thing in a quill?
Yeah, it's
I mean,
just
it's like
ridiculous.
so that's like this rewriting of history.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, how do they know that Jesus? Oh, because the guys who wrote the Bible actually put the words because they word for word. No,
It's to blindly believe in a book that has been retranslated, detranslated, things have been taken out, things have been put in, depending on who's on power, is crazy. We are destroying one another based on some stupid belief system instead of believing in one another and what we can do as a species together for the betterment of all, not just the chosen few, but of all. We need to stop this whole prejudice, racist, division, fighting that we're doing because it's not going to get us anywhere.
and what kind of a world would it be where you literally did something for someone, not to win them for Christ or something, not to save their soul, but simply because you cared about them, because you wanted them to not suffer, you know, not just because it was going to give you an opportunity to give them something that you thought they needed because you're being told to do it, or else you don't get what you want. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So Ryan joins us. Hello, Ryan. And Ryan asked, "Were we ever Christian?" She was raised.
I would say that, yeah, I believed in Christianity. I mean, I identified as a Christian. I mean, I used to say, even later, I used to call myself a Jesus follower because I didn't believe like in denominationalism. I didn't like the way the system of church was run. So I didn't see it as something that was going to last, you know.
Right. And I had my bout with it. You know, I even detransitioned because of it, because I thought I was going to like burn in hell. And I believed the whole lie because I was raised Jehovah Witness. So I had that seed planted into me. But once you really dive in, once you really dig deep into that rabbit hole and read the Bible, you're going to find out that it's all BS. You're going to find out that it's just a control system. You know, it's pretty sad. Let's see here. I mean, choppy or whatever. Exactly. Up in the mountains when no one was around, God gave Noah 10 commandments. Why 10?
Well, actually,
Supposedly there's a lot
actually
more.
Moses.
Yeah,
But-
Moses, yeah.
But yeah, he literally goes up to a mountain to speak to a burning bush. And I thought that God had already given his name to these people because it says Yahweh in the Genesis account,
Right.
you know, and Exodus is like so much later. And then he's like, who should I say has sent me? And it's like, say that I am that I am.
Yeah, it's just all crazy stuff. But anyway, we realize how scared Trump is, you know, in the recent since Kamala came.
Yeah, he just doesn't know
Yeah.
what to do. I mean, it's not like these people had no time to to prepare for what possibly was inevitable. I mean, it's like we only saw his Biden's declining health.
Exactly. And people like Mike Pence and others have been really like distancing themselves from Trump completely. Mike Pence, we saw a video today that said he had no right to overturn the election. He stands against Trump. He states that Trump does not respect the Constitution. Many claim he's using lies to get elected, which he does. I mean, I think that whole thing that happened the other day, that was pretty much a staged nationalist event. And like I said, yes, a couple of people got hurt, a person died. Those are like, and with the towers, people died, but it was all set to have motives. We just don't understand how this world runs. These reptiles, these bloodlines, the things that they will do to create the stage. There's just no telling.
The lack of transparency is what is so appalling. As an American public, we should be outraged, because if someone gets hurt and they're running for president, there should be responsible representation of like what actually happened, the facts, what took place, what literally, how his condition is, the medical situation. Instead, we get like this unlicensed guy who used to be his doctor, who's like just doing whatever.
I don't know if we froze there for a moment. I don't know if you guys could still hear us. It seems like we're frozen. It seems like we unfroze. So anyway, Ryan writes, what if you were wrong? What if you were right before, but now you're wrong? Are you willing to take that risk? God loves you. Oh, please.
Oh,
please.
We're so beyond
that. That guilt thing.
Line,
do you see how manipulative Christians are?
That line of thinking.
Do you realize?
Are you sure you don't want to take an insurance policy on God just to get fire insurance? Just in case.
Do you realize how perturbed that sounds? How manipulating, how fear-based? Do you understand that that is exactly what that God of yours, that reptile thing, has done to humanity? Do you not understand that he's got you all under a spell?
It's unbelievable. I mean, I don't I look at it from a different perspective, because I see things the same way you saw them. When what you're saying right now, I can understand. I truly can understand where you're coming from. But I just don't agree. I don't agree, because I've seen too much.
I've read too much of that Bible to understand that it's full of lies and full of inconsistencies. It's a manipulating tool. I know manipulation when I see it. Like that tactic you just went right there, manipulation.
I mean, that's why people go like, they think that they're going on the mission field to go reach the unsaved and the lost. The fact that you're calling people lost and that you are the ones who have the answer.
Yeah.
The arrogance of that is just beyond me, because it's like, would you go just to help someone? Like if you were asked to go on a trip or something, just because you care about people? No, it's because they want to win them over.
Exactly.
They want to, show them.
They want to show their God, and so that they could have a space in heaven, wherever that is,
Here's my issue. How is the commandment, honor thy father and mother, when thy father and mother are satanic?
Let's see here. Our autonomic nervous system is said to be reptilian. And because the archons, Anunnaki, Elohims, whatever you want to call them, they go by different names, literally tampered with our DNA. They tampered with our nervous system. And they've made us, that's why it said, let us create man in our image. So they literally took what the actual true God, which is not even mentioned in the Bible, the true creator of everything, and they dismantled it like a tinker toy. And they removed certain things and added certain things to enslave us. That's why in many people's DNA, we've got that, oh, we need to worship, we want to be good little boys and girls. It's all part of that DNA tampering.
I wonder if we drop the settings to lower resolution.
Let me see here.
If it might.
That might make it better.
Might.
Let's try.
Standard.
Let's see if that works.
I don't know what's going on? Why it's so slow?
No, we're just making it worse. Okay.
Okay.
Let's see if that dropping the resolution. I don't know.
It's so weird.
I don't know. Are we coming in all choppy?
Looks like it.
Yeah, but sometimes it may look like that and it doesn't.
But there it looks choppy.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, our autonomic nervous system is said to be reptilian. That didn't help it then either. So, but they can still hear us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of lies, and again, with the theme of the show, regarding Kamala. I always say it wrong. As Trump said, there's many different ways of pronouncing her name.
I want to share articles with this slow speed. You can just talk about it.
Okay. So,
because that's just going to slow it down even more.
Yeah. Well, there's like, first they're saying that she's not even, no, we're not coming in choppy.
I don't know.
Yeah.
No?
No.
Because why does it
I don't know. That's happened before in other things. So, it made it worse. Actually, worse now than it was before because I changed something.
Kind of flying blind.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how this is coming in, but anyway, a lot of lies being spread that she's not a citizen. The same thing they did with Obama. That she has control over the border, and that's not true at all. There's definitely not true because she was only given as a diplomatic trying to like smooth things out in Guatemala and a couple of other places, but it was never given, authority to control the border. So that's what they're going by on this.
And she literally told the Guatemalan people not to come. I mean, she was like, don't come because the border situation's, a mess.
Yeah.
And also, Mayorkas is the one that's in charge of the border right now. He's the one with the Homeland Security or whatever, and the Border Patrol and all that. So they have a border czar. I mean, anointing her as the border czar is not anything but political strategy.
Yeah.
Because the Republicans had an opportunity. There was a bipartisan bill that was going to be signed that was very conservative in what they were going to allow and stuff, and they were willing to concede to the Democratic Party, the Democrats in the Senate, and Trump actually put a little bird in their ear and told the Republicans that he didn't want them to agree with that because then that would not give him the kind of fuel that he needs to make his statements. Like, when his attempt thing happened, he was, just so happened to be talking about the border because that's all he wants to talk about.
That's it. That's all he's got.
People, when they ask people, Yes, but what are they going to do about the border? It's like the border, the border, the border, the border.
And they had a
Everything's like the border.
chance to deal with the border, and Trump advised the Republicans not to mess with it because he wanted this to be a big thing. They've been pushing this thing on people forever. This whole border thing has been, the immigration thing has been going on forever. It's like, it's a broken record already. It's like the people on the border are not that are coming in are not the ones taking your jobs. We're outsourcing jobs from the United States. Corporations are sending jobs out of here so that they could save money, so they don't have to pay for your health insurance, so they don't have to pay employees.
And what you don't understand is that we're in a very pivotal point in our society these days where artificial intelligence is coming, and it's going to change radically the scope of what we look like as a country and who's working and who's not working. I mean, it's not going to, you're not going to have to worry about the Mexican or the Guatemalan or Venezuelan crossing the border to take a job or something. It's about the AI who's going to take all the jobs, you know.
Exactly. I'm trying to think if I do something else here. Yeah, it's crazy because, I mean, let me see here. I got the little bit of the article here on the thing. They said that they put this whole thing on Instagram, right? And the post got over 200,000 or 200, a whole ton of views. This is the post exaggerated the vice president's role in addressing migration at the southern border.
Harris was never put in charge of the border or made the border czar, immigration experts said. President Biden tasked Harris with leading the administration's diplomatic efforts to addressing the root causes, quote unquote, of migration in El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras.
VP Harris was never made the border czar or charged with managing the border. Andrew Sali, president of the Migration Policy Institute, said in an email.
That role has always been held by the Secretary of Homeland Security. She was asked to be the chief diplomatic officer with Central American countries at a time when most of the increase in the unauthorized immigration was coming from 3 countries in Central America, and to help lead a private investment strategy in the region.
Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas himself noted the different responsibilities between himself and Harris in June of 2021 at the El Paso border.
Vice President is leading our nation's efforts to address the root causes, that fundamental question of why people leave their homes, Mayorkas said, and it is my responsibility as the Secretary of Homeland Security to address the security and management of our border.
So, I mean, that whole immigration thing, trying to blame her for it is BS. She's not in charge of the border. I can tell you one thing. America's excited about the change that's going to take place. I think she has tremendous personality, tremendous valor. This woman is going to turn things around. I truly believe that. I see the excitement in the youth. I mean, do we want a crazy madman that is just trying to divide people and always leading to violence? Or do we want somebody who has a heart, who's capable of really leading with what this timeline needs right now? It's a woman's heart, a woman's ability to nurture, but yet at the same time be firm, and learn how to this balance, which has been missing for many, many years. The time for a change is now. We need a woman president. We need a woman to turn all this testosterone, all this alphaness, all this violence, all this gun, destroy, fight mentality out the window and bring a sense of unity, love, and compassion.
I mean, what did the Dalai Lama say?
It's going to take a woman of the West to change the world. And I believe that woman is Pamela. Is she perfect? No, there's no perfect. Nothing in politics is perfect. But we need that change. It's going to help us as a species see things differently. We're going to heal. We need a lot of healing. We need to push religion out the window. We need to push this whole Jesus as Savior and Lord and all that's out the window. It doesn't work. It hasn't worked for thousands of years. What do you think is going to work now? No, people are going to reject it further because they're realizing that we've been duped, we've been lied to.
I mean, my opinion is more of in the way of like saying, just respect people, respect their beliefs, respect their way of living, respect their choices, respect what they do with their bodies. Just don't get involved in other people's business.
And that's what Christians love to do. And then they claim, okay, the Republican Party, the MAGA people claim that they want to give freedom, but they're the ones taking all the freedom away. They're burning books. They're making teachers get rid of books because it teaches other ways of living, because it teaches about homosexuality, because it teaches about transsexuality.
Or teaches about the fact that we have in this country a very ugly history of racism.
Yeah.
You know, they call it CRT, critical race theory. And it's like, yeah, people are critical of this, of what has happened, what's taken place. You know, slavery was wrong. Racism is wrong. You know, picking on someone because of the color of their skin is wrong. If you call someone a DEI hire and you're saying it in a way that's mocking them because you're like, oh yeah, you're not here because you're the smartest. You're only here because you had to fill a quota. And that's going to be like, you know, the only reason that you can get anywhere.
And that's
like,
crazy.
It's wrong.
It's wrong.
Racism.
It's very, and the thing is, they can't see it. The majority of people can't see it. It's like, yeah, we want them to come in legally. That's all BS. You know, that's all BS. We have to understand that as a species, we need to help one another. Until we start doing that, we're going to continue to fall. We're going to continue to stumble. We're going to continue to have problems. We're dying. Every day you go out in the street, you see people's health are diminishing. They're getting fatter and sicker, incapable of even functioning anymore. We're doing this to ourselves. We need to stop falling for this division, because that's how they conquer, divide and conquer. We need to stick together and stop allowing these reptiles, these archons, this horrible bloodline to continue to do what we've allowed them to do, because we've allowed it. We've allowed this to happen. You know, to tell people who they can love, who can't love, tell a transgender person what they can or cannot do with their own body, and making us feel like we're less than because we don't live life the way that you do. We're all entitled to live our lives the way we want to.
I mean, to think that someone who literally can't have a baby is a less of a person than someone who can. It's blatant racism and misogyny.
Yeah. And a way of controlling. They love to control. Go to any Trump rally, you're not going to hear anything positive. All you're going to hear are negative things. You're going to hear the division. You're going to hear this man that's so desperate for power. And what he said, oh, Christians, you ain't going to have, don't worry, after you vote this time, you ain't going to have to vote anymore. Worry about voting anymore. Yeah. What does that mean? What is he planning to do?
And prior to that, he said, you know, I don't even need anyone to vote for me now. He said that yesterday, because we have lawyers set up in every state. We have organizations that are going to litigate this election. I mean, they're going to litigate this thing. We're not going to know on election night who won. Again, mark my words, we're not going to know.
It's going to be
because it's going to be this long fought out court battle. And this time they have the Supreme Court on their side. They have state lawmakers on their side. They have, you know, electoral board leaders. They've positioned them in places. I mean, it's going to be a knockdown, drag out fight.
And then lastly, the whole freedom thing, telling women what to do with their bodies. I mean, it's like, you call that freedom? They're pretending that they're giving you a brand. Well, they're switching it on you and giving you something else. Republicans are not about freedom. I don't know what freedom you think you all are getting with it. You know, it's crazy. So let's see here.
It used to be the party of less government.
Yeah, it used to be.
And now they're the party of more government.
Totally. So This whole lying thing, even though it's been going on forever and ever, right? It's a long time. The controllers of the world, that's how they lead their plight. But clearly, the topic of lying is both potent and timeless. It always provides plenty of great subject matter and endless supply. In fact, since it's a universal problem that apparently will always be with us and will always create vast difficulty as well.
But this topic has never been more important than it is today. The reason I'm focusing again on the issue of lying is that the sheer volume and intensity and insolent chutzpah of public lying has gone through the roof over the past 7 years, and the emerging results are pretty damn ugly.
No coincidentally, this time period saw the rise of Trumpism. In 2015, Donald Trump announced his presidential run, then very surprisingly won the 2016 election, but not the popular vote. Then, as president, he proceeded to take a giant wrecking ball to our democracy, many of our social norms, and our long-established presidential norms.
Over the course of his 4-year term and ever since, he absolutely shattered many Americans' image of how a president and current ex-president should act, and did untold damage to our nation, our morality, and the rule of law. And all along through this entire awful period, his primary modus operandi has been, you guessed it, lying.
He lies about everything, and he teaches other people to lie. We're talking about lying continually, lying about anything that upsets him or got in his way. Lying in ingratiating himself with his MAGA followers, lying about his many detractors, lying about his accomplishments, lying about his weak pandemic response, lying about his political enemies, rhino Democrats, lying at an unheard of, totally mind-boggling rate, especially for an American president, our nation's foremost leader. According to a harried fact checkers, Trump lied or distorted the truth well over 30,000 times while president. This amounted to an average of at least 20 lies or half-truth every day for 4 long years. In fact, Trump lied so prodigiously and so effectively that there's no question at all that he's both a pathological liar and an utterly abnormal human being.
Constant lying and deception isn't normal. It's Mad Magazine worthy and sick. We now live in a bitterly, insanely divided country where the political left and right are literally at each other's throats, baying for blood. A country where our most basic institutions, such as voting and news media, are rapidly being undermined and demolished. It's a country where getting any kind of consensus about what is real and what's really happening in our nation is now just about impossible. How crazy is that?
And all this lying and vitriol matters a lot because we Americans are drowning in a massive deluge of lies and made up hateful BS. This constant deluge of irrational crap is emanating not just from Trump, but also from a huge swath of deluded and poorly informed Americans who take their cues from him and other loudmouth demagogues, Fox News, of course.
Plus this enthusiastic public embrace of deception and over-the-top partisan propaganda matters negatively because all this lying and manipulative, overwhelming nonsense is driving us all borders, all bonkers, and totally undermining our society and our morality.
Or rather, I should say that it is driving the remaining normies, quote unquote, crazies, those of us who are fed up with lies and BS and still have a functioning moral compass and haven't mentally given in the like a multitude of lying liars and far-right sheeple who will do and say anything to get their way. And they do.
Yeah, but I have to say, living through this unending barrage of amoral, idiotic crap is excruciating. Today, we have an internet-addicted citizenry that buys into all the social media hype and outright lies and believes, quote unquote, that it's well-informed, but is actually poorly informed, hyper-partisan, and frequently semi-delusional.
How far-right media outlets pioneer constant lying and overt manipulation? Well, long before Donald Trump crashed onto our political scene, literally, lying and overt manipulation of the public had accelerated with the rise of far-right talk radio, which in turn led to the rise and vast power of Fox News and other right-wing media outlets.
Over time, Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, Ann Coulter, Tucker Carlson, Bill Riley, and the rest of their ilk have done massive damage to our nation because, let's not forget Glenn Beck.
Yes.
Because they gradually replaced accurate news and reasoned debate with demagoguery, insults, rage stoking, race baiting. Alex Jones.
Alex Jones, yeah.
Innuendo and actual fake news.
Yep, I was going to say Alex Jones. Yeah, so our nation is in the fight of its life now. And the outcome of this fight will determine whether the U.S. continues as a functional representative of democracy or disintegrates into chaos and violent conflicts.
Far-right media will scream, pout, justify, accuse Megyn Kelly, and like crazy, and the MAGA hordes will scream bloody murder and perhaps get quite violent. But if our nation is to survive, the DOJ and the FBI must persist and bring the worst of these devious, destructive liars to justice. That looks like the only way at this late juncture that our society can effectively defend itself and survive.
You know, we've seen it happen with what they started spreading against the trans issues. They started spreading all sorts of lies and all sorts of problematic things. And it's like tumbleweed. It's gone progressively from worse to worse. And, you know, it needs to stop. It really does need to stop because it's only going to get worse. Let's see what we got here. CC had said something else. This is not letting me.
The United States is not a democracy. It's a constitutional republic.
Yeah. Yeah. And another thing that I read during my awakening is not even a country. It's a corporation. The president of the United States is the president of the U.S. corporation. It was in like 1917 or something like that it was incorporated. And we think this is a country, but it's not. The rabbit hole goes very deep. You know, there's a lot of that information is out there for people to find out. And we've just been lied about everything, about our civilization, about religion, about our country, you know, about these agencies like the CIA, the FBI, and all these things. I mean, there's so much corruption that people's minds will be blown. They wouldn't be able to handle the truth. Like Tom Cruise says, or no, it wasn't Tom Cruise.
You can't handle
the truth. Yeah. And it's pretty sad, you know, pretty sad. Seem to be frozen again. Did we freeze up again? I don't know if it's just our thing here, the way they're, but yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. All the lies, all the deceit, all the things that, you know, they have done to create what we see before us today, which is pretty bizarre. And it's only going to get crazier. Yeah. I mean, we haven't even begun to taste what's going to take place. You know,
is the AC turned off?
He turned off a little while ago.
Just was high.
Yeah. I should turn back on a little bit. It just turned off. Let's see. So, let's see if I can try to open that up. Okay. So we believe. Oh, we believe that we are the only civilization around, but in reality, there's been many other civilizations around way before us, way before us. Um, let's see here. What if over the course of tens of millions of years, all of the direct evidence for it were ground to dust? Would it be possible to detect evidence of a civilization uh, infused dust in the geologic record? Asked Adam Frank of the University of Rochester and Gavin Smith, director of the NASA Goddard Institute for Space Studies, tackle this question in a paper published April 10th, 2018, in the peer-reviewed International Journal of Astrobiology.
They call their study the Silurian hypothesis. A race of intelligent bipedal reptiles known as the Silurians, introduced in a 1970 episode of the British science fiction series Doctor Who. Why? It's because, as Frank explained in an April 2018 article in The Atlantic, if we're going back this far, we're not talking about human civilizations anymore. Human Homo sapiens didn't make their appearance on the planet until just 300,000 years or so ago.
The idea for Frank and Smith's new paper sprang in part from Frank's studies of global. In other words, he'd been asking whether any industrial civilization that risks on any planet that rises on any planet will, through its own activity, trigger its own version of climate shift, he explained.
We're used to imagining extinct civilizations. These kinds of artifacts of previous societies are fine if you're only interested in timescales of a few thousands of years. But once you roll, things get more complicated.
Could researchers find clear evidence that an ancient species built relatively short-lived industrial civilization long before our own, perhaps, for example, some early mammal rose briefly to civilization building during the Paleocene epoch about 60 million years ago? There are fossils, of course, but the fraction of life that gets fossilized is always minuscule and varies a lot depending on industrial civilization that only lasted 100,000 years, which would be 500 times longer than our industrial civilization has made it so far.
As in the well-known Kardashev scale, often invoked in discussions of possible alien higher earthly civilization by its energy use, a statement from the University of Rochester said, human beings are just entering the Anthropocene, the period in which human activity strongly influences the climate and environment. In the Anthropocene biological footprint humans will leave behind on Earth. By looking at the Anthropocene's imprint, Schmidt and Frank lay out evidence of what might be left behind if industrial civilizations like ours existed millions of years in the past.
Human beings began burning fossil fuels more than 300 years ago, marking the beginning of the industrialization. The researchers note that the emission of fossil fuel into the atmosphere has already changed the carbon cycle in ways that is recorded in carbon isotope records. Other ways human beings might leave behind a geological footprint includes
agriculture through greatly increased erosion and sedimentation rates,
synthetic pollutants, and even things such as steroids, which will be geochemically detectable for millions and perhaps even billions of years.
Nuclear war, if it happened, which would leave behind unusual radioactive isotopes.
In 2016, so Frank wrote in The Atlantic, ironically, however, the most promising markers of humanity's present as an advancement at most. When we burn fossil fuels, we're releasing carbon back into the atmosphere that was once part of living tissues. This ancient carbon is depleted in one that elements, three naturally occurring varieties.
The balance of these carbon isotopes shifts. Atmospheric scientists call this shift the SUA. Ratios of carbon due to fossil fuel use is easy to see over the last century. These shifts should be apparent to any future scientist who chemically analyzes exposed layers of rock from our era.
Frank said that looking at the rise and fall of civilization in terms of their planetary impact might also affect how researchers approach future exploration of other planets. We know early Mars and perhaps early Venus were more habitable than they are now, and conceivably we will one day drill through the geological sediments there too. This helps us think about what we should be looking for.
And he said, by asking about civilizations lost in deep time, we're also asking about the possibility for universal rules guiding the evolution of all biospheres in all their creative potential, including the emergence of civilizations. Even without pickup driving Paleocenians, we are only now learning to see how rich that potential might be.
Bottom line, in a new paper published in April 2018 in the International Journal of Astrobiology, Adam Frank at the University of Rochester and Gavin Smith at the NASA Goddard Institute for Space Studies asked the signs an ancient pre-human industrial civilization would have left in the geological record. So I truly believe that there have been many civilizations, many different creator gods, many or species that are out there that have come. They're like explorers, they're alchemists, they're creators, and they've experimented. I mean, the different types of species, just like when we see the movie Star Wars, and you see all the different creatures and different things. That's how it is.
I mean, there's like history has written it down in manuscripts and in stone that existed long before the Bible.
Yeah.
And the Sumerian account has a record that goes back to the time of the kings or something, the Sumerian king list.
Yeah.
And they had reigns of like 30,000 plus years. I mean, it doesn't mean that humans were existing on the planet at that time and that they weren't reigning over their subjects who were actual Homo sapiens. They could have been something else. They could have been a different species entirely.
Just looking at
this is an old planet.
Looking at the pyramids, looking at these magnificent type of buildings that just look at the Olympics, all these magnificent buildings. Do you think humanity had the capacity? I mean, that was,
horse and carriage again, or before.
The power tool wasn't even invented. There was no way of moving certain heavy marble things. And just look at the old buildings. We didn't build them. It was another civilization that built those buildings. We have to understand the lies that we have been lied to about everything.
Some of the doors we can't even reach.
I know that there are giant doors because there was a giant species that walked this earth. They had different kinds of powers. They used levitation. They used ability to telepathy. We have been so dumbed down. We are the newest kids on the block. And this reptile, Elohim's, Yahweh's-ness, has really messed with us. We need to wake up from this because our ability is greater than we have been told. Like we've mentioned many times, there's so many lies in that Bible. That part where God complains about not having a house, having lived, I forget exactly.
He lived in a tent for so long. He was complaining like a pouting child.
I mean, would a God complain about not having a house built? Does a God need a house to be built? Or all this excessive amount of sacrifices and money? It's that small. And we have fallen for it. These are archons. These are negative energy forces that are vampiring our energy. We're controlled by them. They created our religion. They created our reality. And they are puppeting your elected officials like Trump. there is a fight between dark and light, and you are misinterpreting who is who. What we think is good or evil, it's actually not. I need to share this particular thing here. Window.
Because there's this way of understanding things that is much more broad than what we would give to our existence in a 3D reality, that we're actually limited by being in this 3D reality. And this is a piece, a page from one of the books that David Icke has written. And
okay, let's see if I get it.
He talks about, we think that what we see in the night sky is a fantastic distance away, yet it all exists in a small area of our brain, which is decoding waveform information into holographic, quote unquote, visual reality.
Think about that. What you think you are seeing is actually a hologram. And the reason you see it, feel it, smell it, because it's entangled within our circuitry, because we are a hybrid, a form of AI. Okay. And this is like a virtual reality. Okay. Now, Earth people once interacted with reality through the heart vortex. The heart, mind, and the brain served the heart instead of dominating perception as it has since the Archon hijacked us. Now, we found this very interesting because the leader of the MAGA group, of the many conservatives who hail him as some sort of god, but
says crucial to the takeover by the demented Hannibal Lecter archons, which is the word that Trump has been using a lot, even in his acceptance speech, he used it, was a schism in the waveform fabric of our reality, which triggered a series of cataclysmic events that destroyed the avatar global society, and humanity had to start again.
Imagine that. Now, the whole use of the Hannibal Lecter, I'm telling you, Trump, the nationalists, are all part of the Archon plan. It's just like they're in that wavelength. And warring, fighting. Like, what's the first thing you did when you got out? Fight, fight, fight. I mean, come on, who does that after they get shot? You know, like all worried, and are they going to keep shooting at me, get me out of here? You know, because it was just a planned production. You know, these people, it's a production, a massive production. The schism or massive distortion at the waveform level was decoded through into holographic distortion, monumental physical upheaval, and transformation of humanity's sense of self and reality. We have been messed with so badly. So badly. It's just incredible.
But that's really a piece that you really have to kind of take that in and think about it. You know, I would encourage you to, you know, just do your own research and understand that this physical reality isn't really the gist of our existence here, is not what this existence is all about.
Exactly. But, you know, if you remove that veil and you really understand what this is all about, we're players on a stage. And I know we point fingers at each other because that's the way we've been taught from a very young age. You know, playing cowboys and Indians when we were kids, the good guys, the bad guys. It's a production. Everyone's playing the role. The dark is playing the role. The light's playing the role. There's really no good and evil. Things just are, because we are collecting experience, this frequency, this energy source, the creator of all, which is not Yahweh and there's nothing about him in the Bible, set forth events that was meant to create this theatrical production. It's just part of what is. It's We are learning and growing and evolving as we're doing this game called life. But we have to stop pointing fingers at one another. Stop believing that we are some helpless little thing that is waiting for a savior of some sort. Let's see, something else.
Indicating removing the veil is a flat earth concept. Yeah, I mean, again, I don't really know what to think about flat earth or not to think about it, given the fact that in this culture of existence that we're in right now, there's so many things that have been lies. You know, there's so many lies that have been told to us. I mean,
what I'm trying to say with remove the veil, we have a veil of illusion that, as we just read earlier, all this what is it that they called it? Let's see here. The like the disc. It's like some prism of sorts that has us blinded. Like the movie They Live, which people would put the pair of sunglasses and they would actually read the signs, the billboards, and what they were actually trying to tell you. We have a veil on our eyes and our senses that don't allow us to see what's really happening. We walk around like muted, literally. You know, if you think about it, if we were in tune with all the noises and all the stimulation that is provided for us, we'd go crazy. Yeah. We would hear every little drop, every little thing. It'd be like, we wouldn't be able to handle it because our nervous system would just like, we would freak out. So we have this like numbness, and we only see very little, and we only hear very little, and we only perceive very little.
I think also that removing the veil has to do with searching the dark things, searching the unexplored, searching the hidden, you know,
right.
the revelation.
Revelation.
You know,
yeah.
I mean, uncovering hidden truth, you know, that's what you also mean by removing the veil, is just removing the blinders of like, of the things that we were indoctrinated to believe in and the things that we were told were true. Like, I mean, as simple as Santa, as simple as Thanksgiving and the Indians and the Pilgrims. I mean, we're told a narrative that is only because those that won actually are the ones to tell the story, because they destroyed the others, you know?
Yeah, and we've been like a horse with blinders. You know, we've been not allowed to look and just been guided. You need to go this way. You need to move this one. This is the only thing you're allowed to know and think. When you go to school, you get programmed by what they want you to believe. Memorize this stuff that means absolutely nothing. It ain't going to help you worth a damn if and when the system goes down. If you don't know how to grow your own food, if you don't know how to like gather food or know what's poison and what's not, if you can't walk, you know, more than 10 miles because cars aren't going to be around, you know, we're all going to be useless. So we need to like really understand that this control reality that we're living in, just like a pet, because we're pets. You know, you take your dog and you throw it out there in the wilderness, it will die because it doesn't know how to get food because it's been fed from a puppy or a kitty.
I mean, in this age of Pisces that we're leaving behind, it was an age where you had parties of religious beliefs and systems of control and systems of power that were set up in order to restrain humanity, to keep them. You know, I mean, it's only been in the last 150 years that we've been able to discover, you know, certain things about, you know, technological advances and things like that that didn't exist 150 years ago. Exactly. You know, and the thing is that we're leaving that age behind.
Yeah, and you know, technology the way we have it now is very limited. It seems advanced for us, but If you look at those buildings that we were talking about and the things that we had free energy. There are old buildings that have this contraption that have been removed because they used to gather energy from the atmosphere. There's a lot of electricity in the atmosphere, just like lightning and stuff like that. There's energy. So that species before us knew how to harvest energy in ways, just like Tesla talked about how energy was harvested, but
from the ether.
From the ether, exactly. So we are living in a time where we've been dumbed down and we've been made to believe that our smartphone is technology.
I mean, imagine if we're sitting on a gold mine of unlimited power and resource just by tapping into the upper atmosphere and allowing us to tap into that for our electrical needs or whatever energy sources that we need to get, to keep the refrigerator turned on or something. Imagine if that didn't cost anything. Imagine if that was free.
Imagine if you didn't have to
self-generate.
Man, let's imagine you didn't have to eat and consume food to live, because you would be able to consume from the air and this energy source that would provide you with what you needed. There were a lot of these older buildings that didn't have bathrooms, make us believe that we didn't have to defecate and urinate and things of that nature. See, we've only been taught and told what they want us to believe. They want us to believe that we have this little timeline, that Jesus came and saved us, and all these little like simpleton theories. But the truth is, it is deeper than what many of us care to understand. No. We don't require any of these so-called modern technology if we learn how to tap in to our true nature, to our true abilities, which are greater than most care to understand. I mean, it's...
Yeah, this salvific form of belief that the world's been indoctrinated by, if you're in the West, you're indoctrinated by Catholicism and Christianity. If you're in the East, you're indoctrinated by Islam and some of the
Hindu,
other
Buddhism, Taoism, you name it. I mean, it's all basically the same thing. These creatures have brought us different belief systems so that we could worship them. But the truth is, you don't need to worship anyone. You don't need to follow some antiquated book to tell you what to do or not to do. The truth is, you have your own beacon. And yes, human beings have done terrible things. But these terrible things that we have done have been part of our evolution, have been part of the grand scheme of things, of playing out the roles that we have to play to create that informational library that's somewhere out there in some other realm. And again, I don't have all the answers. We don't have all the answers. We have a lot of questions, and we question many things. And that is why we no longer believe in Christianity. We no longer believe in the Bible. We no longer believe in a lot of the things that have been pushed down our throats to control us. We are free. We want more freedom. And the only way we're going to get that freedom is by breaking free from the systems, this matrix that they have created to keep us enslaved.
And on that note,
let's see here. Religious teach us that God is outside of you. Exactly. Mm-hmm. And the true God, the true creator, which has no sex, is not male. You can't put it in a box. It doesn't have a name. It's energy, and energy flows, and it's never ending. It's always have been and always will be. It's never born. It cannot be destroyed. And we are all part of that. Deep within, we are all part of that great source. And it's an injustice to humanity that they've done to us by putting this box together and saying you have to follow this, you have to accept so-and-so as your Lord and Savior, or else you're going to go to hell. There is no hell. There is no heaven. Okay, that is all. There's many dimensions, there's many realms, there's many doors to open that you could create and go through, because we're such strong creators that whatever it is that you're thinking, however it is, if you're a negative person and you're thinking negatively, you're going to have a negative life. That's basically how it goes.
Yeah.
So I guess you're tired because you're like,
No, I just don't know what else we're going to talk about. You have another topic?
well, no, I mean, I was just continuing the whole concept of breaking away from the lies, understanding that there's so much more, so much more. Just all you have to do is watch some of the things that are being put out there in Netflix, and don't think for 1 minute that these shows are just fiction, because they're not. They're not fiction. These are things that are being portrayed and projected so that we wake up and understand the truth of it all. What's a lie is that little book that was created to dumb us down, to keep us enslaved, to keep us meek and little. I mean, you were raised in it.
Yeah.
And what did they teach you? It's like more of him, less of you. All sorts of different mantras,
Yeah, it was basically how bad you are and how much you needed God in your life, or else you couldn't, survive.
And I'd like to ask a Christian, if anyone is listening out there that's a Christian, how does that help anything? How has that helped us today? Do you see any improvement in humanity, or do you see a devolution? Do you see more and more of these religious leaders committing adultery, doing all sorts of things, being caught with their hand in the cookie jar, being exposed for all the things that they do, being hypocrites? It doesn't help us any. This whole follow God, Jesus mantra has not helped humanity one single bit. Just listen to Trump, and that will tell you everything you need to hear. It makes no sense. We are powerful manifestators, definitely. Yeah. I am you.
I am you. We are all one.
That's it. The illusion is that we're separate. But these reptiles, these archons, these dark forces, they're playing their role. They're doing their job. Because the more they create this ugliness, the more we awaken. Have you noticed how many more people have awakened since Trump got into office, since that 2020 issue took over and things happened to people and businesses were closing and people were losing jobs and people were getting sick and they were dying? More and more people woke up during that time. That's what it takes. It's like rude awakening. We need to be shaken up and understand the reality, our little comfort of our homes and our gadgets and the little jobs we go to and the little degrees that we get in school. That means absolutely nothing. You can't take it with you when you go. You're only here for the experience, to grow and evolve your spirit using these tools we call bodies. But, not everyone's going to wake up as quickly as others, It's part of...
Yeah, they're gonna, but I think one of the things that I've learned throughout the years is that you honor people's journey, that you can disagree and not believe, but when you step on someone's ability to live their life, then that's where you kind of come too far, and it works both ways, for us, towards Christians and stuff is, honor them, if that's what they believe. That's where they're at.
Yeah, and I always tell Christians that. I said, you believe what you want to believe, but don't force your belief down on me. It's like that person earlier was like, or what if you're wrong?
Yeah. I'm not, there's no fear in my heart about being wrong or anything like that, because it's like, I've seen the other. Yeah. I've understood where the other comes from. There's so much that they don't know about their own beliefs. When you ask them certain questions, they have like this antiquated understanding of what they believe, and it's almost like, they only learned from the flannel graph in Sunday school, and they didn't do any more research after that, or they just like, okay, I'm saved, I'm just gonna what is it, go through the motions until I get there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And every week one goes to church, like when we used to go to church, and it's the same thing, asking for money, they read antiquated stuff, and it's,
We are stardust. We are
golden.
golden.
That's right. Yeah. But that whole religiosity is going to fade away like the wind, blow away. And it's not, there's a change, and it's coming, and we feel it. And they're going to go kicking and screaming. There's going to be, I fear what's going to happen in November, because there's going to be probably a lot of violence, a lot of people that will be upset, especially when Kamala wins the presidency, and she will win, mark my words. There's going to be a lot of temper tantrums, people that want to force their way, their reality, their anti-abortions or anti-LGBT mentality. They're going to not be happy that there are actually happy people in the world, and that's pretty sad.
Cece says, and we have to get ourselves back to the garden.
Yeah, that's very interesting you say that, because the garden per se, and there's different views of that, but we were kicked out of the garden by Yahweh. And Yahweh is not the creator of the garden. There was a place that we were self-sufficient. We were able to survive and thrive, and we didn't need to eat. I mean, it was there if we wanted to partake, but it wasn't like sustenance that we need food to survive as we do now, as we need to go to the bathroom and have all these animalistic necessities. But when we return to the state of who we truly are, homo luminous, where we could literally go through walls, shapeshift, have our DNA reconnected, then we will be able to live the way that we were intended to live.
Well, we're not physical beings.
No.
We're, this is what we see. This is what we feel. And we think that this is what is reality. But the reality is that we exist on a plane and a level of reality that is much, much, much more evolved than this.
Yeah, this is like when you dream, and lately I've had this really different relationship with my dreams, but it almost seems like I live this other life in my dream world, and then when I wake up, I have this other life, and it's like lately, it's a sequence. It's like I continue the dream, and I don't remember it, but I do have a sense that I just lived in this other realm for the 7 hours or whatever it is that I slept that night. And understanding, I was like, well, if that's the way that feels, what makes this different? This is like all another dream or another experience of different dimensions that we go through. Yeah. And it may sound bizarre. We are all walking each other home. Yeah. Yeah. Because this is not our home. We've been literally thrown here by these characters that they're funny characters, because I think they really have control,
I'm just, I'm still just kind of wondering if these are characters that we, as these creative beings that we are, as these powerful creative entities that we have always been,
mm-hmm.
that we're not the ones that create these monsters, that we're not the ones that create these evils, these archons, these enemies of us, that we're the ones that give them life.
Well, yeah.
To a sense, that if we didn't, if we didn't give them life, they wouldn't exist.
Exactly, but they've taken a life of their own. It's like imaginary friends, when you create a spark and then the spark kind of like continues to evolve and takes a life of their own. And I think that's what's happened. We've played the game so well that they've literally have taken a life of its own. It's like you look at a computer. What was a computer when it first started? Little green numbers and letters on a screen. These little, and it was like, wow. And all of a sudden, what has the computer turned into? And it's like it continues to grow and it continues to evolve. The same thing with AI, So it's like, it's an amazing thing, Yeah, exciting times for sure. But don't fall for the lies. They're all around us. You have to just put on your vision, your true vision glasses on and really learn to see, not with just your eyes, but with your inner eyes and understand what's all around you. And
there's never been a time in recent memory that I remember growing up where opinions are just floating everywhere. It's like you just turn on your TV, log on to YouTube. You've pretty much got every opinion, angle,
Yeah, and people disagree all the time. I mean, you go and read something, you get one opinion, you get another opinion, you're just like, whoa, who do I believe? What, and it's like, follow your heart and understand that it's all a game. And Cece says, 100,000 light years away, this is the past. True. And it could also be parallel. Now, yesterday, tomorrow, it's all happening at the same time. A lot of theories, a lot of, I don't ever want to say that I know it all because that's crazy. Everything changes. I change the way I think on a daily basis. My cells are constantly changing on a daily basis. My thoughts are constantly changing on a daily basis. And that's a healthy thing. Don't let anyone ever tell you that it's not, that you have to be stagnant, you have to only think one way. We are evolving beings, spiritual beings that grow on a daily basis. So, anything else, my love?
Well, I think that's about it.
Okay. Almost at 2 hours. But I got to figure out what's going on. If we need to find out if we can get faster speed with this stuff. Because, it's no fun not to be able to share stuff.
Oh, I know. It's no fun to be stirry.
But I think Cece, was the broadcast choppy, or is it just us that's seeing it that way? It takes a little bit for them to respond. But anyway, we're probably going to keep doing Saturday. We originally thought Monday, but Saturday is better. That way we don't have to worry about getting up early. So Saturday around 7. Sounds like a bit 7-ish. Yeah, it all depends. But thank you guys for tuning in.
Yes.
We will catch you next Saturday. Another riveting broadcast. Stay true to yourself. Think for yourself. Don't let anyone tell you who you are, who you're not, who to love, what to do. You have to be right with you, because you as a spirit came to this world to evolve and grow. And no one's going to live your life for you. Don't let anyone guilt you. Don't let anyone get in your way. There is no savior coming. We are the ones we have been waiting for. And just enjoy them. On that note, guys, we love you, but remember to always love yourselves.
How many years
we've been doing this and we still don't get it right. Anyway, love you guys. Take care. Goodbye.